Welcome back, this is News Extra. Now, tonight we're talking e-cigarettes and some new research starting at the UEA. This new study that's being taken on by the UEA's new addiction research group is to investigate the attitudes of parents and carers towards children's use of e-cigarettes. It's all thanks to a £45,000 grant from Cancer Research UK's Tobacco Advisory Group. And my guest tonight is Dr. Caitlin Notley from the Norwich Medical School at the UEA. Good evening, Caitlin.
Good evening.
Now, I guess we'll start at the beginning of this. Why do this research?
Well, the background to this research is really that we know very little about the way parents and carers are using e-cigarettes within the home. The principal investigator for the study, Dr. Turner, who's based at the University of East London, had anecdotally heard that parents were allowing their children to use electronic cigarettes within the home or buying particular devices when their children had requested them. But that's really just anecdotal hearsay. We don't have any research evidence at all to tell us what the patterns and experiences of using e-cigarettes are. So this study is really looking to try and fill that gap in our understanding.
Because when it comes to e-cigarettes or vaping or all the different types of names that are put towards it, how much research has there been into them, or is it still a pretty blank canvas?
Well, in some ways still a pretty blank canvas. Studies are emerging more and more all the time. More funding is being put into this evolving area of research. Particularly funding is focused on the safety of e-cigarettes, obviously very important, and also lots of studies looking at how effective possibly e-cigarettes may be in helping people to stop smoking. So there's a real positive potential benefit there, and a couple of trials have been undertaken in that area of research. But we still have very limited basic understanding of just the patterns of use, what devices are being used, what types of people are using devices and in what situations, and how people actually use the devices across different social settings.
Because you were saying at the beginning there that the concern is about children using them maybe in the home. When we're talking about children, how young are we talking? Is that part of the concern?
Possibly. Something that the media has obviously been very concerned with is that very young children may be attracted to these devices. There's controversy around some of the flavourings.
Well, you get some bubble gum and strawberry ice cream and all the rest of it, I suppose.
Yeah, like the whole Alco Pops argument, perhaps some of these flavourings could be suggested as being marketed towards children. We don't have any evidence really to support that, but obviously we want to try and look for those possible interactions.
So for this research, parents need to get involved in this to actually make it work. What exactly are you hoping this research will find out? What kind of evidence and data do you hope to get from it?
Well, the first stage of the research is an online survey, so very quick and simple to fill in, and we want to get the views of at least 2,000 parents of high school aged children. So we'd encourage parents to log on and find the link to complete that online if they feel they're relevant. We really want to find out from the survey just what types of devices are being used, the patterns of use, any smoking behaviour alongside vaping behaviour, and also views of children using devices in the home and whether there's any particular experience of that. The second stage of the study is where I'm a bit more involved, and that's really talking to parents much more in depth about patterns and conditions of use in the home. So we'll do some in-depth interviews with a smaller sample of parents, both here in the East and parents in London.
Because why is it so important to find out those patterns and actually get that sort of one-to-one information in this situation?
Well, it's still a bit of a black box. We don't really know what's happening with people using devices, especially in the home, which is a private domain. So we really hope that people will come forward and be quite open and honest with us about their patterns of use.
Because when it comes to normal cigarettes, I guess there might be the concern people have about maybe not being as honest as they could be about how much they smoke at home, whether they smoke around their children. People might be a little bit ashamed of it, perhaps. Does that worry translate when it comes to e-cigarettes as well? Do you hope people will be very honest about what's going on?
We hope so. It's a bit of an unknown, but what we do know anecdotally is that people have very different views towards the use of electronic cigarettes and vaping. Many people see them as a safe alternative to cigarettes, and indeed that is supported by research evidence. So yes, we're hopeful that people will be very open and honest about their patterns of use.
As you say, it is a relatively blank canvas when it comes to research into vaping and e-cigarettes. How will this particular bit of research help to build up a bigger picture when it comes to their safety or how they're used?
Well, we hope that what we find in this study might help us to develop educational messages to give to particularly high school age children. Another aspect of the research I should have said is we'll be talking to head teachers to find out about policies and any informal advice that they give to parents and children within the school setting. So we hope that we'll be able to inform people within the school setting about these devices and what might be particular safer ways of using them if they're going to be used.
Because some people might be surprised with some of the anecdotal evidence you were just mentioning about maybe high school age children maybe pressurising their parents to get hold of an e-cigarette. I guess with that kind of information coming forward, it's why this research needs to be done.
Exactly, and those kind of stories, I mean, you may have heard some in the media or, you know, anecdotally from talking to people, but they're not really supported by research evidence, and it's important that we have the research evidence there rather than pay too much heed to possible scare stories.
So we'll try and avoid the scare stories. But this is all being done through this new unit at the UEA. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, the Addiction Research Group is a really new collaboration of researchers at the University of East Anglia. We've worked for many years, over the last 2 decades, on substance misuse studies, so looking at all aspects of addiction and particularly focusing on hard-to-reach populations. We haven't come together as a cohesive group, so that's really what we're trying to do with the research group, and we're trying to collaborate with people nationally and internationally to grow our research profile. You
say you're working with researchers in London as well.
That's right.
Do you think there could be regional differences perhaps?
Absolutely, that's definitely one of the findings we're expecting to come out of the survey. We know in parts of East London that shisha pens and water pipes are used as different types of ways of inhaling nicotine. There's very important cultural differences possibly in the use of e-cigarettes, and one of my own interests is in social identity around the use of e-cigarettes. So different groups of people, different social demographics may be using these devices in very different ways and for different purposes. Because
now it'd look very, very strange when you see on TV or something, an old film where someone's smoking inside. That now looks very, very odd.
Yeah.
I guess the normalisation of e-cigarettes, is that something that you'd be concerned about, and is that part of this research?
Well, one of the big concerns about the use of e-cigarettes is that possibly the behavioural action of inhaling vapour mimics the behavioural action of inhaling tobacco smoke. Actually, the practices are very different. Inhaling water vapour is very different to inhaling combusted tobacco smoke, and very different harms associated with them. But there is the argument there that the behavioural action is similar, and there is a worry possibly that mimicking that behavioural action may lead young people from trying e-cigarettes towards trying tobacco for the first time.
Because the argument's always the other way around, isn't it? That it's taking smokers and moving them onto e-cigarettes as a way of helping them quit. Would this maybe very much look at the other end of the reverse?
Well, possibly. We don't have any evidence to support the fact that young people may move from e-cigarettes to smoking tobacco, and indeed we really don't want to underestimate the potential positive benefits of e-cigarettes for smokers wishing to stop smoking. So, you know, the relationship can work both ways.
But ultimately you do need people to get in touch to get involved, and also you need their honesty as well.
Yes.
So best way is getting in touch through the university?
Yes, anyone interested in filling in the survey could look on the University of East London website for the direct link to the survey, or if they search for the Addiction Research Group at the University of East Anglia, there's a link to the survey there.
And when do you hope to have some results for us?
Well, hopefully in the next 12 months. I'd love to come back and tell you about what we're finding in the study. Hopefully we'll quickly have results from the survey at least, but it may take us a bit longer to analyse the findings.
Well, we wish you luck in the research. That is all the time we have for this evening, though. As ever, you can join the conversation on Twitter. We are at Mustard TV. The hashtag is NewsExtra. All the details you need in taking part are on your screen now. My thanks to Caitlin for her time, and to you for watching. Have a very good night.